Welcome to Flipping Out with your host, Paul Azell, your leader in virtual wholesaling and investing in today's real estate market. Each week, he will be joined by some of the biggest players in the real estate space who will share their experiences, knowledge, insight, and tips for making it big in the industry. And now, here's your host, Paul Azell.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Flipping Out. This is Paul Azell, your host, and with me today is Zhang. Now, Ray is a family mastermind member, and I didn't know that until today, that he is a fellow member because he's newer. He's been there for, about 6 months, Ray? Is that correct?
Yeah, about 6 months.
About 6 months. So I haven't gotten to meet him in person yet, but we have a lot in common. And his business model really matches closely with what our audience does, with what I do. And I've done a couple land deals myself, but nothing anywhere near with what Ray has done. And he's virtually, I believe, 45 markets, you said, Ray? Is that right?
Right.
So we're going to learn a lot about land flipping. We're going to find out about what markets he's in and why he's in those markets. And first, I'm going to hand it off to you now, Ray. If you wouldn't give us a little background on how you got started into investing, whether you did land initially or started in regular real estate, give us your whole background. Mind.
Yeah, so I used to be in China for, when I grew up, and I came to the country about 11 years ago. Okay. And then I brought 3,000. I thought that was a lot of money. And I instantly became homeless after I came here, and I bought a car. That's it, right? So I was living in the car for about 3 months. And that was a tough moment. And that right then I made a decision. I'll never be like that again. So I started to kind of learn English, and the fact that you can understand me a little bit right now is a miracle, right? So if you don't understand, I would talk to you in Chinese.
Well, you're loud and clear. You don't even have really much of an accent for being here only 11 years. That's pretty impressive.
Yeah. Thank you. I try to talk to people a lot. Some people don't understand, but that's fine. So I came to Hawaii for to school, and then I lived in the car for a couple of months, and then I was like, I have to do something, right? Because I spent all my money on cars, I don't have money to eat, so I eat about one time a day. Mm-hmm. And then I try to flip things and try to flip free stuff. I find things on Craigslist and flip those on the Facebook market. And I pick up people's mattress on the street. I flip those, and pick up microwave and flip those. So got some money to get myself a little bit more comfortable. And then I started to flip cars. And that's a different level than just pick up free stuff, right? So I made at the beginning, I made about 2,000 or 3,000 every single week. But it turns to about 10,000 every week, so about 40,000 every month. And when I have those kind of money, it's better than in the car. So I was like, what I'm going to do? So I said, I talked to some people that do real estate, and they flip one house that equals about 20 cars of my profit. Mm-hmm. So I was like, I'm going to go to flip houses. And in Hawaii, I don't know if you're in that market, but for me, that was really hard.
Yeah.
And then I was like, okay, flip a house right here is hard. Maybe I try to flip virtually houses in the mainland. And it turned out it's even harder. I mean, of course, with your system, I know that's much easier. But by then I didn't figure it out how to do it myself. Mm-hmm. So I don't know how you guys do it. That's really something I admire. Maybe I should learn the system too.
We'll teach you. We'll teach you, right?
Right. So after so many years of trying, about 6 years, I spent at least 200,000 on the training, coaching, but nothing to really show off, right? So it did, I think, about 2 deals, and then I came to land. And because they said land is easier than houses. Mm-hmm. So I kind of believe that I want to try it out. Now, on my first year in land, I flipped about 200 properties in that first year. Of course, that was a very small margin. Every deal I made about 1,500, but that's about 200 something deals. So last year, we changed the system a little bit. And 2022, our profit is close to 900,000 flipping land, and each deal at least we can make 10,000
Nice.
profit. Yeah,
Big difference right there, right? So you could do less volume now, bigger profits.
absolutely. And you know, a lot of people say bigger deals take the same amount of time on the small deals, but it's actually not 100% true. The bigger deals take less time because the people come in, help you out, realtor come in, title company come in. That's something you cannot do with small deals.
That makes a lot of sense. A lot of sense. Your background is really, really interesting. And I'm going to connect you with a mutual friend of ours, Brett McCollum, who was also homeless, living with his dad in his car for more than a year or two. Yeah, long time, right? Like off and on, I think is kind of what it was. So we'll definitely connect and you talk to him about that. But very, very interesting. Your rags to riches, true immigrant story, right? Like my great grandparents who came over here from Italy and Norway. I'm half Italian, half Norwegian, right? So I got a weird mix there. Same thing. They started with nothing. Like your $3,000 you're talking about, they came in with the equivalent back in the day, started businesses. My great grandfather got into blacktop concrete work, block work. And my Norwegian grandfather he was an electrician, right? So he was a boat electrician. So he would be he'd be out in the water for 6 months at a time out there doing stuff. So everybody has a different story, but they all went from rags to riches and done well. And that's what made this country. It's why the country has been great, because people come in there, they have the freedom to be able to go in there and do that and be creative, think outside the box. But you got to be hungry to do that. And you were hungry because you were only having one meal per day.
You're very hungry. Yeah, you're physically hungry.
So your brain goes into survival mode, tries to figure it out. And it makes you, you don't want to be the term fat and happy, right? When you're fat and happy, things get stale and go the wrong direction. You always want to stay hungry and driven as much as you can. And that's a perfect story what you got in there. So you flip cars, you flip microwaves, you flip mattresses, everything. And there's a lot of people don't realize you could flip almost anything. You can literally make a living on go and get stuff on Craigslist, free stuff on Facebook Marketplace even too, then remarket it, take better pictures, do stuff, and then sell it and make some profit, right? It's a lot of hustle. A lot of hustle work, right? But you can do it.
Yeah. So one day when you make more money, you can be fat and hungry too. Don't be fat. Don't be fat and satisfied.
Oh, that's so awesome. So you tried doing houses initially, right? And it was pretty hard. But I got to say this, I'm going to backtrack a little bit. There's no better place on earth to be homeless than Hawaii.
Yeah, I was like, I'm living in my dream. I have a beachfront, view here.
You can't beat it. You can't beat that. Yeah, like I never understood personally why you see homeless people. I used to live up in Pennsylvania where it gets cold during the winter and everything. And I never understood why people were homeless there. Why wouldn't you go to like Miami? Why would you go to stays warmer?
And people rich there, they give you more money, right? So.
True, right? All those things, all those factors in there. But a lot of them probably have more issues than we even know what. So you did some houses, but really got into the land. Now, did you buy anybody in particular's program that does land flipping?
I did. I bought into this guy. I paid him $70,000 for the program, but I didn't really like everything he talked about after I paid.
How much did you pay him?
70.
Okay.
Yeah. So I wish. I hope your program don't cost that much, but
nah, not even close. It's cheap. You'll like it. We're only $5,500 for ours.
Yeah, just kidding. But he talked about you buy a land and sell on terms, which I don't really like. I'm an impatient guy in nature. I'm not gonna sell a land on terms and collect $150 a month for a payment. So a lot of people do that, and they encounter buyers. They hit the "is this available" button and they disappear, right? So that's not a good business model in my opinion. So I instantly changed it to flip right away.
I totally get that. And I know who you're talking about, who does the land and sell on term stuff. And I personally never got that anyway, because look, unless you have a big chunk of change of money that you want to eventually spread that out longer term and earn some interest on it, I get that. But if you're somebody in there just trying to get started, which the majority of people are in that land flipping, you need to get cash right away, right? So
Absolutely.
you can market and do stuff. So that makes a ton more sense to do your model. It was a heck of a lot better. And there's a lot of people teaching it right now. I think Brent Bowers is one of them teaching. I'm not sure if he's in Florida or not.
Yes.
Yeah, and he's part of our group. Actually, I believe he's a part of our group or has been in the past.
Yeah.
There's a lot of people out there that are doing it, and people do it in different styles and different ways. So let's jump into it and talk about the markets you're in, like your favorite market. I know you're based out of Jacksonville, Florida, so you're not too far from about 4.5 hours away from me. So what are your favorite markets? What are your target markets, if you don't mind me asking?
Of course. So I teach people how to find markets, and which is very simple. You just go to Redfin or Zillow, choose a major growing city. So I teach people about the donut strategy, right? So in the middle is the donut that don't have the donut, but the middle part is, so the middle part is a major growing city. For example, Orlando, right? And then Tampa is another major city. So I typically do not go to those major markets because it's so competitive. So what I do is I do 30 to 90 minutes surrounding that major markets donut strategy. And then you find a market inside that circle. But here is the criteria. You have to make sure you have more than 40 sold in the past 3 months in that county you choose. And, there are a lot of them. There's a one called Flagler County nearby Orlando. That's my favorite, absolutely favorite market. There's another one called Brevard County. Those ones are very good to target.
You have builders out there that want to build, right? So if you get decent plots of land for future, they want to have it to be able to build out and continue out further. So you kind of almost following a builder's model. And by the way, your model, right, is the exact same as ours, what we do with the online auction side there, that whole donut thing going 30, 60, 90 minutes away from that center of, say, Orlando, right? Where if you're in Tampa, we'll go out to like Lakeland, right? That's where we'll find more deals, more opportunities out there where it's growing a little bit more. And that just happens to be where a lot of the inventory is for the online auctions where we buy from, our bank REOs. They tend to go there for lesser dollar amounts than they do in the major cities, and part because they don't know how to market them correctly, right? These banks are just trying to get rid of these things. In the major cities, they don't need to market them great because you have so many buyers out there ready to buy them. So different model on the outside, you get a better discount on the front end and you do really well on the back end as well. So our models really do match very, very well.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Hey,
that's
so
you're trying to each other, right? So
Totally. So you're in, our models are the exact same. So you're going to have to learn a little bit about what we do.
Absolutely.
And incorporate it into your current model as well.
Yeah, your model is better. So with houses, right? So
yeah, but it comes with more headaches with houses, right? We definitely talked about that in the beginning there. There's other things you have to worry about with houses and stuff that you don't have to worry about with land. Holding costs are cheaper with land because taxes are way lower than they are with a house on it. That's where the taxes really get pushed up. So you're a large part in Florida. Are there any other states that you target or you're going after, or are you kind of all over the map when it comes to?
Yeah. So I mean, Texas, Colorado, Arizona, North and South Carolina, Oklahoma, those Hawaii, Big Island though. So just a whole bunch of different places.
Yeah, like those markets. So we're very similar markets too. Our target markets are the Carolinas, Indiana and Ohio, Texas, Tennessee. We've been doing more and more in New Mexico because there's been growth in New Mexico, in Tucson, Arizona, in those areas. Where else we've been doing a lot lately in Michigan too, believe it or not. And that just happens to be because we've been able to get things at a deep discount. And the eyes aren't on it right now because of the time of year. It gets very cold up there. It's snowy and people don't pay as much attention to it. So it's good opportunity to get things at a little deeper discounts in those markets right now. But those are good ones to be in. And they're markets that are like, especially Oklahoma too, which is growing tremendously, really, really growing. People don't realize how much Oklahoma is growing. Yeah. And Tennessee. And all you have to do, it's doing your business, doing our business. so much I've been, for me to forward think and look, I'm kind of just looking at demographics where people are moving and shifting. Obviously, COVID changed where people were moving and shifting. The Sun Belt was the hot spot. If you work remotely, why don't you work remotely in a place you like? So that's why a lot of people came down here to Florida. And they'll continue to matriculate, not at the level they did in 2021, but they'll continue to matriculate as baby boomers retire. And that biggest, largest generation we have retiring is baby boomers. And they're going to go to the Carolinas. They're going to go to Florida. They're going to go to Georgia, Texas, Arizona. They're going to go to the Sun Belt. You know, so, I mean, I think you're great where you in with those markets and focusing on those markets, but you're basically just looking at the numbers still, looking at the demographics, right?
Yeah, and also there's some report. If they really want to dive into it, you know, there's you can go to Google and search migration trend 2022, and you can see exactly what city people are moving into, right? And U-Haul has their own report. You know, what people rent their U-Haul, where are they going, and where they're from. So they all have those reports. You can use that as a reference to determine your market to mail.
Yeah. And if you want to know where people are going right now, you can go on the U-Haul website and pull the number. You can see where people are moving to, right? Where they're leaving from, which is California, and moving to Texas and Florida and Tennessee and these other states. Absolutely. It's interesting to see where the migration pattern, and the migration pattern is definitely going towards the zero income tax states too, which makes a lot of sense, right? More freedom and more easy. For me, from the house side, it's much better. Like for me, holding my rentals, I'm going to hold them in. I sold all of mine in Pennsylvania. So now I'm holding them in Wyoming, Casper, Wyoming, Gillette, Wyoming, Tennessee, Texas, Florida right now. All those are zero income tax states too, right? These are the ones I want to focus on because I want to reduce taxation as much as possible too. But also those are the most freedom oriented, where it's easier to evict people compared to New Jersey, where it could take me 2 years to evict somebody, or Philadelphia, or it could take 6 months to a year to evict somebody. So I do it strategically that way. With land, you don't have to worry about that as much. But with land, you do have to factor in that local governments or even the state could be more restrictive on what size lots builders can build on, because that directly affects the value of the land that you have, right?
Absolutely, yes. And that's why we have to check if the land is buildable before we buy it.
Right. You got to make sure. So many factors come in. Can you get public water and sewer there, right? Or can you do septic? What's the septic cost there, right? Is it easy? All these different factors that you have to think about that regular home buyer doesn't, because it's already done for them, right? Talk about some of those things that people don't think about, some of those items like that. If you wouldn't mind just touching on a few of them, the big things that you have to really make sure you keep an eye on.
So if you're in Florida, you have to be careful of wetland. Yes. And people will say, "Oh, wetland is hard. It's easy to tell. Just look at water." Not really, because if there's a sunny day, you don't see any water on top of the land. Mm-hmm. But there's some website you can check. You can just Google website wetland checker, and you can put the address in. You'll see right away if there's a wetland. So that's one thing to be really careful if you're in Florida market. And in Texas, there are some lots that you be careful if that's close to the cliff. So if it is close to the cliff, because we do it virtually, there's no way we can drive there and see it. Yeah. So you have to send someone go there to check it out. I have a realtor check it out, and he, because it's in a slope, he started to run on the lot I'm initially going to buy. And then he started to run, and then to a point he cannot run faster. So he has to hold the trees to stop. And by the moment he stopped, here's the cliff. So if he keep running, he will run into the cliff and he got killed, and nobody knows why, right?
Yeah, right.
And maybe God will blame me on that, but I don't know who else will know, right? So be careful with those ones with the cliff. And also in Florida or anywhere, another thing is the drainage. So if your land is crossing with the drainage, do not buy it. I bought one in Jacksonville here. I didn't know. Even see in my local market, I didn't even go check. So I should have. But so if there's a drainage crossing the land, do not buy it. So
problem, because you can't build on it, right? or it becomes
right.
very costly to build on because then you're gonna have to move that drainage elsewhere, right? Potentially.
Can you move? Can you move it?
They might not let you, right? They might not let you move it at all. Depends. Or you have to build up. And I know there was a lot we had just sold in Naples this past year. Brett and I got that. Brett McCollum and I, the guy I was telling you about. And most of it was not in wetlands. It had a tiny, tiny bit of wetlands in the front area, which is to drive up to go in, which is no big deal. So the builder, the guy who bought it, was going to build a house, and he didn't have to do much to make it buildable. So instead of being worth like $40,000, the lot was worth $75,000 because it was much more affordable to do. So we were able to do, and that's just one lot, a 2.5 acre lot.
Can you put like a mobile home on top of the drainage? No.
Great question. I bet you can if you build it, put it on pilings and build it up. I would assume you probably can, but I don't know that for sure. That would I'm trying to think. Even if you did some kind of storage on that, right? Whether it's garages where you're not going to have a house on there. People want to store their vehicles, equipment, things like that, contractors. You can still rent things like that. So there are still things you could probably do with that property to make it work, but you have to make sure it works with the county that they allow it.
All right. I'll check it out.
There's small parcels of land I've looked at buying in different markets that the county owns because they're too small to really build anything on. So I thought, well, if I get it for $500, and I throw a storage shed on there and I charge $100 a month for the storage shed, I'm doing all right. Right? Like, so of course, I've thoughts of doing stuff like that, like things like that you can do on some of these pieces of land, or build a tiny house on it, right? Or a tiny house on the wheels, right? You could do that as well and potentially make that work. That's assuming that you can get water and sewer there and electric and all that still. So there are different factors and stuff. But if you have an odd shaped piece of land, maybe you have to build it's a triangle, say, but it's small. Maybe you have to build a small triangular house in there to make it work. I thought about all these things. It would just be neat. Like if they're in the right markets, you could do it as a very neat Airbnb,
Right.
I've had thoughts of that. There's a lot of things that you could probably do with these things. You just got to think outside the box. So you run in all kinds of different things like that. And Texas is a good market, right? You're doing pretty well in that Texas market.
Yeah, Texas is where I initially started to do bigger deals. It's absolutely crazy. I mean, the if you get a deal there, it's no problem for sale. I mean, no problem you can get it sold. We got offers in like I posted in the morning, I sold in the afternoon. So,
so they're still in this market now. Texas still moving.
Not right now, but right now it will take longer because everywhere is kind of slower down. You had to really buy it super cheap and sell it cheaper, right? So
if it's the right price, it'll still move pretty quickly, right? If it's marked well. I'm noticing like different markets that are affected and the markets that aren't affected, and it's pretty standard out there. Just wherever there's low inventory, the market's still strong, right? Where we got big increases of inventory, like Arizona, Phoenix, Arizona is dealing with that right now. In Utah, there's a few different markets in Utah where inventory went up 9 or 10 times the amount in a quarter, right? So now the price is plummeted. Idaho too. So you just got to be careful about these certain markets because you don't want to get caught with a falling knife. At least for me in real estate, so I've been avoiding those markets now, just kind of concentrate on these ones that are still. We're doing great in Texas. God, we've probably sold 10 or 15, maybe 20 deals in Texas this past year. Just Texas. And that's been a great market for us. It still is. We have another one where in Cuero, Texas, we're going to be picking up here in a couple of weeks and probably flipping that one pretty quickly as well. So certain markets are not affected as much. And again, those are like you take the donut, like you were talking about, and go outside these markets. These are all outside those markets. And it's amazing how many people still want to be in these tertiary or secondary markets. It's like they're moving away from the city still. Seems like that's still happening.
Yeah, absolutely. That's a great time to buy. But it was also suggest, for your audience, don't go into too many debts buying too many houses, right? Yes. Right now, you don't know what's going to happen.
Correct. Right. Yeah. And if you're in different markets like I am, diversifying yourself with different markets helps a bit. And that if one market's affected, you're making up for it hopefully in these other markets, right? And it is
Absolutely.
very, very true. And what we're doing, you're probably doing the same. We're buying at much deeper discounts right now, right? We want our numbers so much lower. You know, a lot of people are at 75% of ARV minus repairs, minus want to make. We moved down to 70% at the beginning of this year. And generally, my whole rule of thumb has been since I've been doing the virtual stuff in 2009, 10, I started doing that. I like 65% of ARV, and I still think that's safe. And then bump up your repair numbers a little bit more, and then, you know, give yourself a little higher wholesale fee if you're looking to wholesale, just to protect yourself a little bit. You're probably doing the same thing with land, right? You're just lower.
Yeah. I got a crazy lower price on that. Sometimes it surprised me. So
I'm telling you, I think right now, you know, real estate houses are still in demand because there's limited supply. But for you, there's probably way less competition in land right now, right? Am I right with that?
it's a little bit more competition right now.
Oh, really?
4 years ago. Yeah. So right now, a lot of people come in and start to buy land. They kind of know the value of the land.
Okay.
Yeah.
So it's changed a bit. People are becoming more aware of it. And so it is more competitive than it used to be.
Yes.
Got it. Okay. Very, very interesting. So are there any markets you do not want to buy in? Are there certain states you don't want to buy in? Do you have anything like I put X's on certain states that I don't even want to think about right now? New York being one of them. Do you have that same thing?
Yeah, we have the same page. I tell people all the time, do not buy moving out states or migration out. People are moving out, so that's not a good place to go to. New York, California, I don't go to there. And just anywhere that losing people. New York is losing 300,000 people last year.
Yeah, that's a lot. And they're forcing people out. One, less jobs, taxes being the biggest thing, between income tax being like 10%, plus real estate taxes being through the roof there, and local taxes, plus the local counties, the townships just make it much harder for people to even do additions, repairs, renovations on their house. So that's why people are leaving these areas. And that's definitely not where you want to be for the future, because houses aren't going to be built there as much as they are going to be built in these other markets. So very,
Absolutely.
very, very important. That's very good stuff. So you teach this as well, right? Do you have students?
I have about full time to take the whole program. I have about 20 students, and the part time have about 50. So they only want one section or two.
So if people want to learn how to do home flipping or land flipping, they can reach out to you to be able to do
Absolutely.
that.
Absolutely.
And a little bit later, we'll get in. I'll have you give all your info and details to the audience here so they can do that. Of course, we'll post and list everything and put it in the show notes as well. All right. So next, what is the average size piece of land, like as far as acreage that you buy? Is there an average size or a minimum amount of acreage that you're looking for, a maximum amount? Give us some details.
Yeah. So as far as the acre size, on the east coast, I would stay under about 2 acres, because majority of the land is under 2 acres. Uh-huh. And on the west side, it can go more than that, because Colorado, Arizona, those land are just typically bigger, right? So we can go to 5 acres or even more. But as far as the price, I try to stay between 15,000. I'm talking about the land value. So it's between 15,000 to 250,000. Okay. So the bigger the deal on the land, the longer it takes to sell. So I just stay in that price range. I think is pretty good price range.
Yeah, it's much easier to sell the one-offs, the smaller ones, to a smaller builder, right, than it is the bigger ones to the bigger builder. Less probably bigger builders out there. There's a ton of smaller builders out there that are looking for these smaller ones where they can build 4, 5, 6, 10 houses on, right? Compared to
Absolutely.
A huge development that you would have to do. So that makes total sense. What is your average, just out of curiosity, over the years, compared to obviously the last couple of years, probably been a little bit different, but what is your average hold time on the purchases of land to when you sell it?
6 months ago, it's a totally different story. I hold the land for like a couple of days and it's under contract. So right now we have to hold it for longer, about a couple of weeks, sometimes even a couple of months. So, just typically take a little bit longer, but it still sells. So.
And are you buying directly from the sellers, land sellers? Are you hitting lists like if people haven't heard the land? Is that kind of your target?
I mail to everyone. So whoever you got a land somewhere, I'll mail to you. So be careful.
And a lot of people a lot of people do not want the land, especially if they haven't heard it because they don't know what they're going to do with it, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Do you tie it up on terms? Do you tie them up on terms, the land, or do you purchase it outright?
Yeah, I buy it right away. And sometimes, you really be surprised. Some people do not want their land. They hate their land. Even they bought it a couple of years ago. I bought an oceanfront land for $700, wow. And that lady paid $150,000 in 2021. No, sorry, in 2001, about 21 years ago. So I asked her after we closed, why do you even sell it to me for 700? She said, I want a tax write-off. So, you never know. Yeah.
You never know what you're going to run into, right? The tax write-off can't help. Sometimes you need them. And you're the beneficiary of her tax write-off.
Right. I did her a favor. So.
Absolutely did her a favor. Yeah. So here's another question, because you went to school in Hawaii, right? Did you go to the University of Hawaii?
I went to a school in the north part. It's called Brigham Young University.
Okay.
But they kicked me out about a year later. So because I try to flip cars, right? So they don't like me. And the principal actually came out of his house because his house is inside the campus. So okay. He came out of his house in the winter break. And he was like, why the heck we have like 80 cars here? and he called the security. He was like, I thought everybody go home. And the security said, yeah, everybody went home. And he said, where's all those cars for? And they started to look at the footage, to look at the camera, and they found out it's me driving around in the same car. And yeah, I parked my car in the campus, so they don't like it. So.
Oh, that's funny. That's a great story. I like that a lot. So when did you move from Hawaii to here, to Florida? Or did you move to other places first?
I just came here about a year ago, and Hawaii is kind of boring to me. So, after you've been there for so long, so there's not too much you can do, right? So.
True. When I think Hawaii is a great spot to live for a period of time, and everything just gets so expensive. You come to mainlands, it's a lot cheaper. And Florida does offer a lot of the same stuff as Hawaii as far as palm trees, good weather, not quite as good weather as Hawaii, because Hawaii doesn't, with the trade winds, it keeps a little bit cooler. But overall, pretty good place to go. Jacksonville's a great market for you to be in too.
Absolutely. And another thing is, if you want to taste a true taste of really what America is, go to Texas, Florida. Don't go to California, Hawaii. Those things are like China. And, I'm like moving to a more beautiful China. So
you're right. I mean, people are different. It's like New York City, LA.
Absolutely.
They're living in different worlds than what your average Joe and Jane is living in, for sure.
Yeah.
In Florida's a nice mix. I mean, obviously, go to Miami where there's great wealth, right? There's great wealth in Jacksonville too, but you have your very lower income areas and then your middle income areas and then your higher income areas. You got everything in Florida. Florida does offer a ton, plus no income tax, which is great because I don't know why you had income tax. Was it high? Was it high income tax there?
Yeah, of course, 11% or something.
Ooh, yeah, very high.
Good luck.
So you gave yourself a nice pay raise by moving. Your cost of living's way lower. Your taxes are way lower.
Right.
Awesome.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Smart move. Smart move. Plus, now you're closer to the mastermind, and we meet at twice a year there, so we just drive there, which is great. Now, that being said, do you travel anywhere else in the country, in the States? Have you been other states, any other places you really liked or enjoyed?
I really love, my friend Tom Grohl, and he showed me his cabin in Blue Ridge, Georgia. Yes. I was like, oh, this is another life. I mean, the country life really is, I'm going to buy a cabin for sure. So just something in the middle of nowhere. Everything's built out of wood. Yeah, that's a very good place. Yeah, it is.
Yeah, and that's Tom Grohl, right?
Tom Crow, yeah.
Yeah, no, Tom well. He's a good dude. Very good dude. And the Blue
Yeah.
Ridge Mountain, he's near so the Blue Ridge got near the Smokies. They're close to Smoky Mountains. I have a property in Dandridge, Tennessee, very, very eastern side, close to Asheville, North Carolina, and the Smoky Mountains on 5 acres. This place, it's a big,
Wow.
huge double wide. It's not a log cabin, big, huge double wide. We're totally renovating that right now, debating on whether keep it as an Airbnb, a full-time rental, or flip it. Going for all different things.
What is a city again?
So it's in Dandridge, 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 Tennessee, very close to Pigeon Forge, Tennessee, where Dolly Parton's from. Great area. It's got a big lake really close to it, very close to this place. And this one's like on the top of the mountain. It's got beautiful mountain views, which is nice. So it's a place I'd like to stay and use if I could a week or two of the year, and then rent out the rest of it. It's like an Airbnb. So we're rehabbing it right now. It's coming out really, really nice, and just trying to figure out what I'm going to do with it, whether I want to keep it as a tax write-off or sell it and give myself more taxes.
Yeah. That's crazy. You can still renovate even you're not there. So
yeah, there's systems and processes that do this, and we teach people how to do it because you can get burned too, and I've been burned. You do this enough, you're going to get burned. And I got one in Scranton, Kansas, where a contractor just folded with a ton of my money, and now I got to go after it. So it's a part of it. But that was my mistake. What I've learned, and little piece of advice for anybody out there: don't find your own contractors in these markets. And I'm sure you use realtors in your different markets. We find the best mom and pop realtor we can in that particular market. They know every contractor, who are the good ones, who are the bad ones, and go off their referrals. You're going to get one, but you're going to get better pricing because these people got referred by these realtors, and these realtors feed them pretty much. We're feeding them free leads. So they're always good. They're quick. They do good quality work. So keep that in mind, even with land. If you find somebody, and not a Keller Williams, not necessarily a Remax, but a small mom and pop brokerage, they've been there 20, 30 years. They know the market like the back of their hand. That's kind of what you want, for sure.
totally.
Looks like my video went out. I'm going to get my video put a new battery in here to get that going. But
All right.
Leads me into other questions. Yeah. So are you going to get into regular real estate as far as housing at all? Or are you going to stick with land for now?
I think I'm gonna go apartments pretty quick because people doing land terms, they want to collect the monthly fee, which is good, but land has a much higher default rate than house or apartments. So with apartments, you get a huge location, and if you learn the system, I think it's a very good place to be in for cash flow.
Absolutely.
I wish someday I will be like Paul. I don't have to work anymore, right?
I wish I didn't have to work. You know what? I would be bored if I didn't work. But the apartments are definitely a good place to go. We're in an interesting time now with apartments and with the cost of apartments. When I say cost, I mean the interest rates.
Absolutely.
What we're dealing with right now. So it's much more difficult to find those deals with the interest rates that are higher. And I have a 12-unit building I have in Casper, Wyoming. I completely renovated, and my contractor was supposed to be done in January of last year. And I had a locked in 3.25% 30-year fixed interest rate on that. And he didn't finish it. We couldn't get it done. I couldn't get it refinanced because we needed to have everything completed and start to get people in there. And in the meantime, the rate shot up. Now I'm looking to be in the sevens probably on that thing, which is going to cost me a heck of a lot more. It's still cash flowing, but not nearly what it was going to spit off, around $6,500 positive cash flow per month. And now it's going to be around 35. That's a big difference, right? That's a big chunk of change. So still good. But those are good. Like, I think if you want to focus, right, and people in the audience listening, don't necessarily worry about the big ones yet because they're harder to find right now, and they cost a lot, and the cap rates aren't as good. That anywhere between, say, 5 units and 60 units, you can find a lot of them out there. You can get some really good deals on them, and they spit off good cash flow. So if you get 3 or 4 of those, you'll be spitting off as much as you would with a major complex. Plus, if you need capital down the road, they're easier to sell than the big monster complexes are. It's just something to think about there. Besides doing single family, I do single family as well with rentals.
Yeah.
And they're the ultimate best because you're going to get the biggest appreciation out of them, and they're very easy to liquidate.
Right, and also can bring so much confidence. This will work when we're first beginning to do real estate, right? So if a lot of people try to go big, and at the beginning they do 200 units at the beginning, well, what if you don't get a deal, right? So
yes,
yeah,
agreed. So it's tough. It's just a whole different animal. We're so used to, you're used to doing the land. I'm used to doing the bank-owned stuff. Now I'm doing television advertising in Southwest Florida, direct to consumer, which I haven't done since 2013. And that's a whole other business in and of itself, which I'm now getting operating and going, and that has its growing pains again too. So then if I go into further and start finding these big complexes, that's a whole other business I don't necessarily want to get into. There's another good opportunity actually in your market. It's a really good one. I want to throw this out to you. It's a company called padsplit.com. And we're looking to do this right now. You can do it in Jacksonville, Orlando, Tampa, Lakeland, a bunch of these other markets and around there, Port Charlotte, Sarasota, where you get, let's say you get a 4-bedroom, 2-bathroom house. And it has to be a good location, like close to transportation, close to a city. You turn it into like a 7 or 8-bedroom house where they share the bathrooms, common area kitchen, and they pay between $150 and, if they have their own bathroom, $250 per week to live in that room. Pad Split manages it, handles it. They charge you 15% for the management fee, but it's another way to generate apartment-like revenue with just housing. And a lot of the people I noticed that are into this are people that were multifamily people that it got too competitive, and now they're starting to go into this because it's less competitive and they can still get great cash flow. So I'm looking to do my first here shortly, trying to locate a few properties to start with, but that might be something that's up your alley as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you for sharing.
You got it. So that's something to think about. Now, I want to give you something here too, and hopefully bring some of our audience who are doing virtual flipping already and maybe want to do some virtual land flipping, ways to contact. What's the best way for them to find out about you? Do you have a website or an email address you want to share?
Yeah, I have an Instagram. The tag there is called Virtual Flipland. So VIRTUAL Flipland, one word. And I'm always there all the time. And yeah.
Virtual Flip Man, MAN?
No, Virtual Flipland.
Oh, Flipland. Sorry. Yeah. Virtual Flipland. Yep.
Yeah, you're the Virtual Flip Man. I'm the
Oh, that's great. So we can find you and connect with you there.
Yeah, definitely.
That's awesome. Now, we were talking cryptos earlier. Have you bought any virtual land yet in the metaverse?
I think it's too virtual for me. I haven't touched that yet.
But, I haven't done it yet either.
Yeah, a lot of people talk about it, but it's people pay like crazy, insane money there. But I don't know. It's like it's like buying land on the moon. So there are people one time selling property on the moon, right? So
totally. Same type of deal, right? It's all out there, yeah.
I need to find a county in the moon, so to start marketing.
Now, the pricing used to be really high for land in the metaverse. Now, the cryptos, with the tanking over the past year and a half, it's dropped a bit, and it could be good opportunities. I'm still just a little bit leery of doing it. And like, do you pick the right metaverse, or do you buy a little bit of land and a few different ones and hope one of them go up and you sell it off, right? That's
right.
I'm debating on thinking about doing that. I'm more into the certain cryptos than I am the land, but something to think about.
Yeah, definitely.
But, awesome. So I really appreciate you coming on, Ray. I know we've been in contact through email here over the past month or so. I really appreciate your time. Great insight here. And I love what you're doing because it matches exactly what my audience is doing too, with all the virtual land flipping stuff. So appreciate your time. And actually, I do have a question for you. Seeing that you were from Hawaii, have you read Rich Dad, Poor Dad by Robert Kiyosaki?
Yeah, he always talk about the government there, right? So he don't like it, the government. That's why he moved to Arizona.
Yeah, that's why he moved there. Yeah, they've kind of forced him out there because he used to do a lot there in Hawaii. I'm sure he still does some deals there. But yeah, no, that's a great book. It was one of my favorite books that I ever read. It changed my mindset on things. But I figured you probably read that one as well, knowing you're a friend there.
Definitely. You're my rich dad from now, so. Yeah, I don't have poor dad. I only have a rich dad, which is
I'll be a rich dad for now. I'll try to be.
Okay.
But I'm really looking forward to catching up with you here in March in Tampa.
Definitely.
And we'll go over a lot of different stuff there. And in the meantime, if anybody has any questions and they can't reach Ray for whatever reason, reach out to me. I will connect you to Ray and make sure if you want to learn about land flipping, I'll get you directly to the man himself, and he will get you started in the land flipping, virtual land flipping business. Well, literal, it's real. He's not doing it in the metaverse, right? This will be real land that you can buy here in the States.
Yeah, definitely.
Thanks, Ray, man. I really appreciate your time.
Thank you, Paul. It's so fun.
Yep, have a good one.
You too.
You've been listening to Flipping Out with Paul Ezell, the #1 success platform for virtual wholesalers. Visit our website, thevirtualinvestor.co, for more information about how you can leverage virtual wholesaling to take control of your time, enjoy financial freedom, and live life the way you've always wanted to. Join us again next time for another informative discussion right at your fingertips.